Hi, welcome to the latest edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show, and it's that time for me to show you my favorite albums of the year for 2023. Now, if you follow my channel, you know I literally bought hundreds and hundreds of albums this year. Out of all of those hundreds, officially 196 new albums made it into my database, made it into the Alan Rosenberg Show, onto my shelves downstairs. Some didn't make the cut, and a lot I didn't get through. And in fact, many from this year actually got last year that were in my backlog. So what I'm going to do is out of those 196, I'm going to show you what you see behind me, my favorite albums of this year, of which I believe there's 14 that actually came out in 2023. The rest of that you're going to see back there are archive stuff that also were amongst my favorite purchases of the year for me in 2023, and then at the end I'm going to show you what I've been doing since 1973, show you my top 3 of the year, and my best new artists, new being new to me. So that's how it works, 2023. Feel free to check out my playlist. Go to Time Capsule, and you're going to see previous years, starting in 1973, which is when I actually started doing this. So without further ado, 2023 for me is definitely the year of the reissues and box sets. And as you can see, I got a ton of box sets this year, and a lot I didn't even get to. Here's the Who's Next Lifehouse massive box set. I just got this, did an unboxing of it very recently. I have not gotten through this yet. But this actually gets categorized for me for the same year as Who's Next. So that came out this year, an incredible looking box set. Just haven't had a chance to get through it all, but that's a great set. Earlier in the year, you may have seen my unboxing of this incredible box. This is the band Caravan, and this is the box Who Do You Think We Are. There's something like 40 something CDs and DVDs and books in here. Check out under my playlist, and you'll see the unboxing for this incredible Caravan box from Madfish. This is a box that's going to take me, I think, years to get through. I have not gotten through it, but I got it earlier in the year. This one I just got for the holidays. If you know me, Wishbone Ash, one of my favorite bands. I have multiple versions of Argus, and this is the 50th anniversary deluxe box, also from Madfish. It is not even opened yet. I will do an unboxing on this in the beginning of the new year. Good thing about it is I think I have already pretty much everything on this box because I'm such a huge Wishbone Ash fan, but looking forward to unboxing this and checking it out. So these are just 3 box sets that came out this year that I absolutely love. I still have a backlog of an unbelievable amount of box sets that I already had, including right back there is that Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction box that I got earlier in the year. I haven't gotten to that one. But of course, that's an old box, and I have a whole backlog of boxes. What else came out in 2023 that was a box set? This one, another amazing Jethro Tull box set. This is the Broadsword and the Beast, the Monster Edition. I have all of the Jethro Tull boxes. This one did not disappoint. This is the biggest box so far. I did a whole video on this as well, and this is definitely a highlight of 2023. Other bands should learn from Jethro Tull on how to do box sets, and very reasonably priced for what you get. It's extraordinary. Another really good box set I got this year was this one from Genesis. This came out this year, the BBC broadcast, and I'm a huge fan of the early Genesis, up through when Steve Hackett pretty much left, maybe up through Duke. After that, just not such a big fan. But this is a good mixture of great stuff, including the Lyceum concert from 1980 from the Duke tour. That's still a great show. A lot of this stuff I already had in my archives, but nice to have it all together. The Genesis BBC broadcast box came out this year, and that was also a great box. So that was some of the highlights of some of the great box sets that were actually released in 2023. What about new albums that came out in 2023? Anything that really grabbed me? Honestly, I thought it was kind of a year for me anyway. A lot of the bands that I really love, some of them did release new albums. I mean, U2 put out this one, Songs of Surrender. This was the deluxe 4 CD set where they redid a lot of their classics. I don't think it's nearly the disaster that a lot of people said it was. I did do a review of this. You could check it out in my playlist. But it's certainly not a U2 album that I ever go to, nor do I really see myself going to it very often. So, just kind of a nothing with nothing release. I'm glad I have it as a completist, and maybe if I'm ever in the mood to hear it, but not a go-to. What else came out this year from bands I love? Well, Fleetwood Mac released this archive release this year. This is Fleetwood Mac Rumors Live. Certainly Fleetwood Mac at their commercial peak. And it's a fine live album. I am a huge fan of live albums, as you probably know. I have multiple videos on live albums. This is not in any way a purchase that you have to have. It is not the kind of thing that I'm going to listen to very often, but I'm glad I have it. What else came out this year? Well, the Pretenders I'm a huge fan of, and their last album was Hate for Sale, and I was shocked how much I loved that album. That album was a kick-ass album, and it actually finished in the top 3 for me in its particular year. This year, they released the album Relentless. I did do a review of this as a video of that. And this album is just okay. It grew on me over the year. I don't think it'll ever be a top-notch Pretenders album for me. There is one song on here that is classic for sure, and that is the song Your House is on Fire. But at the end of the day, I'm a huge Chrissie Hynde fan. I think she's one of the greatest singers and, writers. And it's a good Pretenders album. Not a great one, and it's good. I had the same kind of reaction with this. Jason Isbell, he released in the 400 unit, they did the album Weather Vanes this year, and I did a review of this album as well. You could check it out. He has had massive success for me. All of his albums have been huge hits for me in the year, and I think there's 3 that actually finished in the top 3 over the years. This album is a fine record. A good Jason Isbell album would be maybe a great album by a lot of other artists, but this is just a good Jason Isbell album. It just didn't grab me like the other ones. It's not even close to being a top 3 album. And some of it, like the last song, what's it called, Miles? Man, it's a total rewrite of Neil Young's Down by the River. I don't want to get Jason in trouble, but it's like Down by the River by Neil Young. I don't know how Neil doesn't have a songwriting credit on that, but whatever. Definitely one of my favorite albums of the year was this one. This actually came out at the end of 2022, I believe it was. It's not easy to get in this country. This band, Mostly Autumn, that I love. They did this live show called Back in These Arms. It's a 2 CD set, and I finally got it from overseas, and I love it. Mostly Autumn is a band that I call them pet bands, a band that I love, have had huge hits for me on my turntables for the years. In 2010, the female singer Heather Findlay had left the band, and she was replaced by Olivia Sparnan, and the band just, for me, I still thought they were good, but I stopped buying most of their albums, and I just kind of thought they changed their sound to a certain extent. They kind of became more like Within Temptation. You know that band? It's a really good band. Kind of like a symphonic metal band. They just got more I don't know. They changed their sound. It wasn't as warm to me. And anyway, I stopped buying their albums. Also, it's hard to get their albums in the United States. This is a double live record recorded after COVID. And for me, it did what live albums are supposed to be. It was almost like reintroducing me to Mostly Autumn, because I'm not familiar with so many of these songs, because they're from the albums with Olivia as the lead singer, and I didn't pick those albums up. And it was an eye-opener. This is a really strong record, a great reintroduction for me for Mostly Autumn. And that's one of the highlight albums of the year for sure. Another album that came out this year, another 2 albums. Bruce Springsteen at the end of last year put out Only the Strong Survive. I wound up getting it on vinyl. And it's not an album that I was in a rush to get because it's like a covers album. And I was just like, I didn't really, I don't know, I just didn't really see the point of it. And it turned out when I finally did get the album this year, I thought it was really good. It's a good listen. It's certainly not essential Bruce Springsteen, but when you put it on, you're like, yeah, this is good. I kind of get why he did it, and very enjoyable album for sure. Only the Strong survive from Bruce Springsteen. Another album that came out this year was this one from Jethro Tull, Rock Flute, or Rock a Flute. I'm not going to call it Rock Flute. I love the deluxe editions with the surround mixes and the demo recordings and the booklet. Strangely enough, this album, and I did a full review of this, you could see a video on that. I was a really big fan of the Zealot Gene from last year. It actually went top 3 for me last year, I think. I thought this album was really good. I don't want to get into the whole Toll debate. I have videos on it. But this album, for whatever reason, I don't think is as good as the Zealot Gene. I think the flute work and the melodies are absolutely beautiful. But as I said in my original video, and when I put it on recently, it didn't change. I just kind of felt like he forced a theme and forced creating songs in a certain way, which he did. I think this album would have been better as an instrumental album. There's beautiful melodies and there's beautiful flute work, and the instrumental work is fine. But it's just the songs themselves feel more forced to me as opposed to the Zealot Gene. So Rock Flute, a good Jethro Tull album, but I just didn't think it was as strong for me as the previous one, the Zealot Gene. The biggest surprise, and a pleasant surprise for me, is the Rolling Stones. And they released Hackney Diamonds, their first new album since 2005 of new material. I was nervous about it, and it really did not disappoint. I, of course, did videos on Hackney Diamonds. This is the regular CD, and this is the box set with the Blu-ray surround sound mix and some other doodads on there. Typical Stones of the last decades. I hated the cover. I don't think the graphics are all that good. I don't really get it. I get it, Hackney Diamonds, but I don't understand within the Stones' history why they called it that or the graphics. But the album itself is a whole breath of new life. Clearly, Andrew Watt, the producer, did an incredible job. He's clearly got a great relationship with Mick Jagger, and they have put together with the band, because it definitely sounds like a Rolling Stones album, but this does not sound like a Mick Jagger solo album at all. It is a kick-ass album. It sounds so alive, and it still sounds good. I still stand by my review. There's 2 songs on the album. It's not a perfect album. There's 2 songs on the album that they just don't totally fit, in my opinion. And it's interesting. It's the one that's got Charlie Watts on it, which is that Mess It Up, which is now the 3rd single from the album, and then Live by the Sword. They're not bad songs, but they just sound... Mess It Up to me still sounds like a Frankenstein, like they put it together. And Live by the Sword, it even has Bill Wyman on it. It's just ironic that I think those are the 2 weakest tracks. This album, I understand why they didn't release any stuff before this, because if the rest of the tracks that are in the can are like those 2, the rest of this album is just better. This album still gives me chills. The End of Angry and Sweet Sounds of Heaven with Lady Gaga at the end. Man, if that stuff doesn't give you chills, that is organic, amazing rock music and a great comeback from the Stones. It was more than I could have hoped for. So those are the highlights of the new albums that came out. Now, in addition, I picked up a bunch of archive stuff, and I'll tell you some of the highlights of the archive stuff. So I know you guys make fun of me because I've become a little bit of a Swiftie. And yeah, I picked up a whole bunch more of Taylor Swift's albums. She's all over the place. Some of it's real pop that doesn't appeal to me. Some of it's pop, and some of it's really good. Some of it's not. But I will tell you that this album is a great, great album. I got that this year. This is the album that's called Folklore. It came out actually in 2020, so I got it this year. And this album is mature and dark and moody, and it's just a great listen, especially in this kind of weather as it starts getting colder and you just sit back and soak it in. It is such a mature piece of work. It was a sister album to this one called Evermore. This album bored the hell out of me. This album didn't appeal to me much at all. It's just funny how this one really does. So, you know, if it's cold out and you're sitting in your house and you want to hear some mature music from Taylor Swift, check out Folklore. Came out in 2020. I picked that up this year. Some other older stuff that I picked up this year that I really loved was this one, Thanks for the Dance from Leonard Cohen. This was stuff that was left over after he passed away, and it actually came out in 2019. His son is obviously a super talented guy because the music and the lyrics, which is what was left over, really mixed together well, and I just think it's great. You want to hear a great sexual song, The Night of Santiago. You need to check that out. That is just hot stuff as he tells a story from his younger days. Another one that was a real good surprise for me was 2017. It came out live at Carnegie Hall from Dan Fogelberg. I'm a big fan. I actually prefer him live with a band where he's electric, but this is an all-acoustic set from Carnegie Hall, and that was real nice. Going way back, I picked up this band, It's a Beautiful Day. I never had it. Came out in 1969, and I always knew Whitebird. But it's a fine record if you like Jefferson Airplane. It sounds like a good Jefferson Airplane album. I keep getting into the Manic Street Preachers. I have a huge backlog of their stuff, and I try to only get 1 or 2 albums a year. And this was the one I picked up this year, and I really enjoyed it, Lifeblood. This is one that didn't get good reviews, but I liked it a lot. This was a great find at the record show. If you remember Melanie, this was made by Rhino Handmade, and this is a 2 CD set, not easy to find, of an album she put out called Photograph. Came out in 1976. It was her only album ever on Atlantic, and this is a great album, a great set. I love that one. Another one that took me by surprise was an album by Squeeze called Cradle to the Grave. This one came out in 2015, and I'm always a Squeeze fan. For whatever reason, I never picked up this album. It was a latter-day one, but it's really good. And perhaps the biggest surprise was this one. I was in a record store, and the guy was playing it, and I didn't even know what it was. And it turned out to be Bob Weir and an album he put out in 2016 called Blue Mountain. I love this album. It kind of sounds like it was produced by, kind of reminds me of a Daniel Lanois. It's just moody, and it's cowboyish, but moody and kind of dark, and his voice is just gravelly, and the songs are really good. This was an album that really took me by surprise, and I listened to it all year, and that was a favorite. So did that cover? The only thing I'm going to mention is every year I try to get into a new band. And in this case, it was all new old bands that I never had. One of them I got into was Golden Earring. Obviously, I know some of their songs, but I never had a Golden Earring album. And then I was at a store and I picked this up blindly called The Naked Truth. It was like an unplugged album, and I'm a fan of like these unplugged live records, and it was really good. And I made a comment on it, and one of my viewers was kind enough to send me this classic Golden Earring Live 2 CD live set, and I think that was Tom, thank you. And he sent this to me, and I really enjoyed it. Classic 70s live record, and I'm a fan. And I picked up The Continuing Adventures of Radar Love, like a best of. So Golden Earring has finally made it into the Alan Rosenberg archives. Fine band, for sure. What else did I pick up this year that was brand new? Ducks Deluxe, which was a famous pub band, and this was 2 of their albums. I never had their stuff, and this was a fine release, kind of like Brinsley Schwartz, Dr. Feelgood. That was a really good pickup. And the best one, only on vinyl, because I've never seen their CDs. And this is a band I always wanted to get into, and I finally decided to, and it's a band called Horselips. They're an Irish rock and roll band from Ireland. U2 was a fan before U2 even made it. and this was 3 of their vinyl albums. I can see they find their vinyl albums really cheap in the United States. I picked up 3 of them, and this was a live one called the Belfast Gigs. I have a couple more downstairs that I haven't gotten to yet, and then I recently got this for the holidays, a double CD set, the very best of Horslips, Treasury, and this has got like 34 songs on it, remastered with a thick book. Haven't opened it yet, so that'll be for this year. But they are a band that I really love. They are an Irish rock band. They got those flutes and pipes and great sounds, but also a lot of flute, kind of reminiscent of Jethro Tull sometimes, which I love. Another one I got this year was that one up there, the Jess Roden band called Blowing. That's a live album, and I picked that up because one of my viewers said, you got to get that album, and I saw it used, and you're right, that is a great live record. I loved it. So there you have it, folks. All of my favorites that I got this year. So let's round it up. What are the top 3 best favorite albums of the year based on what I played the most? Well, at number 3 is actually going to be an older album, and that was going to be the Bob Weir album, Blue Mountain. Yep, it didn't come out this year. It actually came out in 2016, but I love this album. I played it a tremendous amount, and I will continue to play it. So that is my number 3 favorite album of the year, even though it came out in 2016. The number 2 album of the year, for sure, is this, and that is Mostly Autumn's Double Live, Back in These Arms. Does everything a live album should do. Great performance, good sound, and it's got a ton of songs that I'm unfamiliar with because it's from the Olivia Sparren years, and I'm loving it. My second favorite album of the year. What's my number 1 favorite album of the year? Well, you know it, and I'm not trying to be biased because I'm such a huge Stones fan. They deserve it. It is definitely Hackney Diamonds, and it is a terrific record. Is it as good as their greatest albums? No. But is it far superior than any of us had a right to expect? Yeah. And it actually really is their best album since Tattoo You, for sure. It's a great, great record. The Rolling Stones, Hackney Diamond, the number 1 album of the year. And then what's my best new artist of the year? Well, it's going to be a new old one, and that's definitely going to be Horslips. I'm falling in love with that band, and I will continue to get more. In fact, I have more downstairs that I got to get to, and looking forward to listening to Treasury. So there you go. There's my favorite albums of 2023. Let me know your comments. Let me know your choices. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you have had a happy Merry Christmas and happy holidays. And if I don't see you or speak to you, I hope you have a happy New Year. And we look forward to continuing this journey in 2024. Thank you so much from me, Alan Rosenberg, and the Alan Rosenberg Show. Have a great one.